Imagine a world where a simple glass of water is a luxury, where rivers run dry, and the rain no longer quenches the earth's thirst. It may sound like the plot of a dystopian novel, but it's a reality that is inching closer to our doorstep. If the current pace of climate change persists, experts predict that in just 30 years, water scarcity will no longer be confined to the arid landscapes of Africa. Countries across other continents could face the same grim fate, struggling to access clean water. But how did we get here, and more importantly, is there a way to turn the tide? The global water crisis, current status and predictions. Water scarcity is already a pressing issue in many regions worldwide. According to the World Resources Institute, over 17 countries face extremely high water stress, meaning that more than 80% of the available surface and groundwater is being used annually. Most of these countries are located in the Middle East and North Africa, where the natural arid climate and increasing population pressure have exacerbated water shortages. However, projections suggest that climate change, population growth, and economic development will spread these challenges across many more regions, potentially affecting over half of the world's population by 2050. The impact of climate change on water availability. Climate change plays a significant role in reshaping the availability and distribution of freshwater resources. As global temperatures rise, evaporation rates increase, leading to the depletion of rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. Warmer air also holds more moisture, leading to heavier but less frequent rainfall, which results in more severe droughts and flash floods. In regions like sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and parts of the Americas, these shifts have already been observed, causing disruptions to agriculture, energy production, and daily life. Scientists warn that if emissions continue at the current rate, large areas of the planet may experience permanent water shortages. Regions at risk. A look at vulnerable areas. Several regions are particularly vulnerable to future water scarcity. Sub-Saharan Africa, water stress is already a reality, with millions of people lacking access to clean drinking water. If trends continue, some estimates predict that by 2050, up to 40% of the population could face extreme water scarcity. South Asia, home to some of the world's fastest-growing economies, countries like India and Pakistan are experiencing significant strain on their water resources due to population growth, industrial demand, and decreasing monsoon reliability. Latin America, while generally perceived as a water-rich region, parts of Central America and Brazil's northeast are grappling with severe droughts, impacting agriculture and the livelihoods of rural communities. The western United States, the Colorado River, a crucial water source for over 40 million people, has seen reduced flow rates due to prolonged droughts. The dwindling reservoirs and groundwater levels have triggered water usage restrictions in many states. Agricultural and industrial pressures on water resources. The agricultural sector consumes about 70% of global freshwater supplies, largely for irrigation. The growing global population demands more food, putting additional strain on already scarce resources. Industries such as mining, textile production, and power generation also require significant water input, leading to competition between agricultural, industrial, and domestic water needs. This competition can create conflict over water rights and access, especially in regions where water is shared across borders. Technological solutions and water management strategies. While the situation is dire, there are strategies and technologies that can help alleviate water scarcity. Desalination, removing salt from seawater, can provide a reliable source of drinking water, especially for coastal cities. However, it is energy-intensive and costly, making it less accessible for low-income regions. Water recycling and reuse, reclaiming wastewater and treating it for irrigation or even drinking purposes, can help reduce the pressure on freshwater sources. Countries like Singapore and Israel have already made significant advancements in this area. Efficient irrigation techniques, drip irrigation and other water-efficient farming practices can significantly reduce water consumption in agriculture. Improved crop varieties that require less water or are more drought-resistant are also being developed. Rainwater harvesting, collecting and storing rainwater for later use, can help communities manage water availability, especially in regions with erratic rainfall patterns. Policy and international cooperation. Addressing global water scarcity will require coordinated efforts at local, national, and international levels. Governments need to invest in infrastructure to improve water storage, distribution, and wastewater treatment. Additionally, policies must be enacted to regulate water usage more effectively and promote conservation practices. International cooperation is essential in transboundary water management, where rivers or lakes span multiple countries. The human cost: how water scarcity impacts society. Water scarcity doesn't only affect ecosystems and economies, it has profound social consequences. When communities lack access to clean water, the burden disproportionately falls on women and children, who often bear the responsibility of collecting water. This not only consumes valuable time that could be spent on education or economic activities but also exposes them to dangers, including disease and violence. In urban areas, water shortages can exacerbate existing social inequalities, leading to tensions and even conflict. Looking ahead, what can be done to prevent a water crisis? Preventing a future where billions face water scarcity requires immediate and sustained action. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is critical to slowing the effects of climate change. Investment in water infrastructure, new technologies, and sustainable practices must be prioritized by governments and businesses alike. Raising public awareness about water conservation and the true cost of water is equally important. Conclusion. As we stand on the brink of a potential global water crisis, the choices we make now will determine whether future generations face a world of abundance or a struggle for survival. The clock is ticking, and the path forward demands innovation, cooperation, and a commitment to change. Here's some additional information about countries currently experiencing water scarcity in Africa, as well as those projected to face significant water stress in the next 30 to 40 years. South Africa, the country has faced recurring droughts, particularly in the Western Cape region, where Cape Town came close to day zero in 2018, when water levels in reservoirs dropped alarmingly low. Urban growth, agricultural demand, and climate change are exacerbating the situation. Ethiopia, frequent droughts, especially in the Horn of Africa, have created challenges for both rural and urban populations. Many regions rely on seasonal rainfall, which has become increasingly unreliable due to climate change. Kenya, particularly in the northern and eastern regions, Kenya faces significant water stress. Many communities depend on groundwater or seasonal rivers that dry up during prolonged droughts. Sudan, water scarcity in Sudan is influenced by both environmental factors and political conflicts over water resources. The country relies heavily on the Nile River, where disputes with neighboring countries over water rights can affect availability. Somalia, persistent droughts, compounded by years of conflict and poor infrastructure, have left much of the population without reliable access to safe drinking water. Niger, the Sahel region, where Niger is located, experiences some of the most severe water stress in the world, driven by erratic rainfall patterns and rapidly growing populations. Chad, Lake Chad, a crucial water source for millions, has shrunk dramatically due to climate change and overuse, leading to water shortages in the surrounding regions. Countries at risk of water scarcity in the next 30 to 40 years. India, already one of the most water-stressed countries in the world, India is likely to face worsening conditions due to population growth, inefficient water management, and the impacts of climate change on monsoon patterns. Pakistan, the country's water resources are already under pressure from rapid population growth, agricultural demands, and decreasing glacial runoff from the Himalayas, which supplies major rivers. China, northern China, in particular, is experiencing water scarcity due to overuse of groundwater, industrialization, and climate change. Continued economic growth will place additional demands on water resources. Mexico, with many regions experiencing prolonged droughts, especially in the north, water availability is projected to worsen. Rapid urbanization and agriculture in arid areas add to the stress. Middle Eastern countries, e.g., Iran, Iraq, Jordan. This region already has some of the highest levels of water stress globally, and climate change will likely exacerbate existing challenges. Prolonged droughts and regional conflicts over water rights will also play a role. Australia, although known for being water scarce, Australia faces increasing risks from prolonged droughts and changing rainfall patterns, especially in the southeastern regions where the majority of the population resides. Southern Europe, e.g., Spain, Italy, Greece as Mediterranean countries, they are experiencing more frequent heatwaves and dry spells, which are expected to worsen, threatening agriculture and water supply. The future of water availability will largely depend on how effectively countries can adapt to the combined pressures of population growth, industrial development, and climate change. Regions that rely heavily on seasonal rainfall or glacial meltwater will be at higher risk, as climate change disrupts traditional weather patterns. Additionally, geopolitical conflicts over shared water resources, such as major rivers crossing multiple borders, may further complicate the situation. Countries that invest early in water-saving technologies, sustainable water management practices, and climate resilience will have better prospects for managing future water scarcity. However, regions with limited economic resources and political instability may struggle to cope, leading to significant humanitarian challenges. Addressing these risks will require international cooperation, innovative technology, and sustainable policies to ensure that all countries can secure water resources for their populations in the coming decades.